Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I'm delighted to be joined here with Jenn with her fantastic movie Elle, but for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip.
Maybe I'm just the best person for the role.
Guya, I'm just saying that it sucks to contribute to a cycle of misrepresentation when we know exactly what it feels like to not be seen.
So I'm a part of the problem if I take this job.
I mean, aren't you frustrated too?
Obviously I am. But I think it's easier for you to criticize from the sidelines.
Jenn, I'm really excited to have you here today. Thanks so much for bringing your film to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. Been very special to have you part of the film festival. But for those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Danny. I'm excited to be here. Elle is a short drama film about a Filipinx-American actor who has a hard time navigating a whitewashed Hollywood with its lack of authentic representation on screen. And she grapples with identity, her being, Filipino and American, and feeling that she herself is like a contradiction. And she doesn't really see her experience being portrayed. Like in acting, we actors, we are asked to portray different characters and to fit, like different molds. And as people of color, sometimes we get asked to play completely different ethnicities. So Elle asked the question, what does it mean for one person of color to kind of take another person of color's opportunity from them? And in the film, Elle confronts Steph about him booking an Indigenous role and really him looking away and avoiding responsibility and perpetuating that cycle. So it's a conversation about feeling seen.
Yeah, you delivered the film so wonderfully well, and it was I was so glad this conversation was being had in a film for a change rather than just kind of just in conversation, because I think everybody should see your film, because as you know, I mean, Hollywood has been extremely whitewashed, and the way they've delivered casting breakdowns have been unbelievable over the years. And then also that kind of feeling of just, misidentification, identifying yourself sometimes doesn't appear very well in the breakdowns. Sometimes it's misconstrued, and then there's those situations that you come into where you feel uncomfortable going for a role that doesn't feel like it belongs to you. And I love how you articulated that. Where did the inspiration, dare I ask, where did the inspiration come from in saying, I want to turn this film into I want to turn this story into a project?
Well, honestly, the story just stems from real conversations me and my cousin had. And my cousin is actually the other actor in this film.
Oh,
yeah, we're both actors, and we would always get auditions to play different POCs, like non-Southeast Asian roles. And it was really conflicting, to want to turn down opportunities when we were just grateful to have them, because they're not common for, POC actors. So I just wanted to talk about that, how like the mentality of scarcity should be challenged. And this parallels in all kinds of institutions and organizations, the idea that we POCs need to compete for the scraps, when really we need to come together and demand a piece of pie, essentially.
Absolutely. And what I loved is that, again, you sparked a conversation between almost kind of, you both were kind of initially sort of not against, but you were both, it was both a conversation where you both had different opinions, but, kind of came together, sort of towards the end and maybe had to think twice about these things. But what I would say is that I love that you made this film. I think it's extremely important. And kind of because the subject was such an important one, what would you like to kind of see change in how casting is done, and how things are laid out? I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and I think it needs to happen yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all these inclusion programs are great. I think it's a good start. I think really putting BIPOC at the forefront of, being able to tell their own stories and being able to cast their own people in it, and to have people that are talked about in these stories to be in it as well, you know? And once we get to that point where we're sharing all these different experiences, then we won't have to explain how different we are. We don't have to necessarily make that the focal point. It can just be that we are just all people. And that would be like where I would like to go. And also how we can embrace each other. It's not about us, oh, we're like this, you're like that. It's about like how we all kind of bring something together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the film itself. Like I actually asked you in the green room, I was like, is there more? Because I really love these characters. I was really enjoying watching you both. And then it's you and your cousin. So how cool is that? I hope you both work together again because you had great chemistry. What was the production like? Or what was kind of some of the challenges that you may have had, or what was the most part you kind of enjoyed the most taking part in it?
Well, you know, it was just such a super intimate like story, and I shot it in my apartment in Koreatown in one night, kind of off the cuff actually, with some pickup shots like around town and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to focus on the conversation between the two characters, and it was super fun to make because it felt very personal and it felt like very natural, like I mentioned, because these were based really on long talks I've had, and not even just with other actors, you know, like with other creatives in different mediums, because representation in the arts is just so important. But I guess the biggest challenge that I came across would be, you know, sometimes when you have like an idea so fully formed, but it doesn't necessarily come out in the way that you envision it. And so, you know, like taking what you do get and creating something out of that, which is a process in itself. And yeah, I just learned a ton on this shoot and this project altogether, and knowing that that's okay and that people can still get the message, you know?
Absolutely. And honestly, I was, again, it's like it's so nice to watch something that's intimate where I feel like I'm the third person in the conversation. It was really special like that. And I love the way that it was shot as well. It was like it felt very, very lovely and intimate. What I mean, obviously, you know, it's interesting when you take on multiple roles, obviously, you know, directing as well, like how do you do that? How do you take on all those different roles? Like, is there some that you kind of enjoy the most, or how does that process kind of work for you?
Yeah, well, you know, like what the story talks about, I love acting and I wanted to be able to be in stuff. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make it. I'm gonna be the director. I'm gonna put myself in it, whatever. But I think but with the process, to answer your question, it's to really surround yourself by people who are on board with what you're saying and what you want to do, and to really trust that, you know, when I'm in front of the camera, that we're getting what we talked about. And really just that collaboration, I think, is just magical, especially in the moment when you're just like, you know, you're up at like 3 a.m. and you're trying to get this shot, and we're all like doing it together, and it's just really great and motivating.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great. It was really wonderfully directed. It was wonderfully acted, and it was a great script as well. I mean, it really had everything, and it just, you know, left me wanting more. What has it been like to kind of take a film about kind of acting and the acting world, and the lack of you know, POC in the acting world, and both in front and behind camera, and then take that to film festivals? How's that experience been for you? I know it's mostly probably been virtual, but how's that been? What's the reaction been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's just super cool to be able to, I know that because it is virtual, it's probably a different experience, but just to be able to share it, you know, is very special. And being screened at NewFilmmakers LA, you know, alongside such talented people is just such an honor, really. And yeah, just connecting with other Asian filmmakers, with other POCs, it's just so cool, because I feel like even though this is about acting and about Hollywood, it's starts a conversation really about representation and feeling like, you know, we belong and that we can feel seen. And I think I would hope that people can relate to that as well.
I mean, I honestly think your film is a film that should be seen by so many, because I really think in one conversation you really just, you know, capture a typical example of what people are feeling. And I'm so glad that you made it, because I hope with your film that people think twice in how they write scripts, how they cast scripts, how they you know, the people they have involved in front and behind camera, and I'm so glad that you made this film, because I think it was just, you know, articulated so well. What I would love to know is like, what is next going on the horizon for you? What more have we got from Jenn? Because I'm waiting for the next project.
Well, I'm actually really excited because I am working on my next 2 projects. I have one that I'm shooting later this month, and I have another one that I will be shooting hopefully in the fall. And I love to watch horror. I love scary movies. I'm just so excited though, because these 2 next ones are going to be horror films.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I want to try to, you know, make cultural statements with a darker lens, and I'm super stoked for that.
That's exciting. Who are some of your kind of influences that you kind of like from the sort of that horror genres, that people you kind of look up to, or styles that you like?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, there's just so many. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, like I rewatched Scream the other night, and it's a classic, and it was just like the perfect script even, and the commentary. And even though it was kind of it's interesting because the comments that it makes, like the misogyny in it and stuff, it's interesting because it seems like, oh, is this dated? But it's like, well, actually it's making a comment about the misogyny in horror films, and it's pretty ahead of its time, and it can still hold itself up, you know? And of course I love like Halloween and
all those
What Freddy? Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow.
Oh yes. I was thinking that in my head. I actually didn't want to say it, but that was what I was thinking. No, I mean, I can't wait. The next film, Jenn, you have for us will be On the Edge of Our Seats. I'm looking forward to that, because I love that genre too. Listen, I would love to know, for filmmakers that are watching this, is there any kind of advice that you would like to sort of share with our audience, that maybe you could sort of support our filmmakers out there? Or is there anything you've learned in your career thus far?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say that if you have something to say, something to express, you know, just go and put it out there. And whatever your medium is, whether you're a filmmaker, writer, actor, painter, musician, whatever, you know, it's okay if it's scary or if you don't feel like you're enough. It's just so important to share, and it's important for other people to see, and it just builds connection, and it can really touch people and change minds. So I would say just go do it. And if you're scared, do it scared.
Yeah, I love it. Well, listen, Jenn, thank you so much for bringing your film to us at New Filmmakers LA. We just keep making more for us. It was such an honor to have you part of our film festival. So thank you very much for this film, and we're looking forward to the next one. So thank you very much for Elle.
Thank you so much, Danny, for having me. It's such an honor. Thanks.
Thank you.